So we're all in this together, and this is meant to be a talk that's supportive and just provides you guys with knowledge that the normal parent doesn't have, because you don't have a degree in child psychology, right? And so it makes it all the more tricky to decipher what is normal and what is not, and what to be concerned about and what to not. So, and that's half of parenting. So the rates of childhood anxiety and depression have been increasing. And this has been happening. This is a trend that's been happening long before COVID and long before social media exploded. So some of the explanations for that are there's far less time outside. So nature really is our best medication in terms of mental health. So when you're in nature, your endorphins are naturally released and you feel grounded and centered and soothed. So when I was growing up, we were outside all the time. I think my mom threw sandwiches at us at lunchtime, and she told us when the street lights come on home. And that is definitely not how it is today, for very important reasons. We have to keep our kids safe. There's a lot of difficulty at times and a lot of danger when kids are outside, so parents are more protective. The weather. So there are a lot of reasons for that, but it is a big deal. When you get your kids outside, they will feel better about themselves, and they will feel more grounded and centered and soothed. And so recess time is imperative. Getting kids outside is imperative. Even if it's awful outside, nature still has the same healing impact. We tend to forget that as adults because it's gray. But if you get outside no matter what, and you get your kids outside no matter what, they will feel better about who they are. And so it's really important. I think it's our natural medication for mental health. The second thing that has declined in our kids' lives that's different from generations in the past is free play. So when I was a kid, we played all day, all the time, mostly outside. And free play is such a mental health benefit for kids because they get to be creative and they get to pretend. And when they pretend play, they work out inner conflict. And it's an absolutely grounding, centering, and very soothing activity for kids. And so a lot of our activities right now are very achievement focused, and that's okay. But kids need to have time to play. Play with each other, play outside, pretend play, and it is such an important activity. Obviously, one of the reasons why free play time has declined in our kids' lives and also outside time is social media and screens, right? So they're on screens a lot, and that is something that's difficult for parents to manage, and sometimes it's very difficult to figure out the limits, the boundaries, the rules. And so that's something that I'm more than happy to elaborate on. But things that parents can do naturally to make sure that their kids are sort of just reducing anxiety and depression naturally is get them outside, let them have time to free play, and encourage that. Encourage free play as much as you can. Another thing they can do is, if their child is resistant to this, go outside with them. Play with them. Free play with them. Get on their level, get down on the ground, engage with them, let them be the boss in the play. Follow their lead, follow their guidance, and just be a character in their play. You can actually figure out a lot of what they're dealing with just through that alone. So, with all the things that have changed through the generations, and our kids are dealing with a lot more anxiety and depression than what generations in the past have for some of those reasons, it's important to remember that the research shows that the most important factor in a child's mental health is a closeness with a parent. So that attachment, that closeness with a parent is imperative to their emotional and psychological mental health as they progress through childhood. And sometimes it's very difficult because they're so busy, parents are so busy, and there's a lot of focus on, getting them doing what they're, expected to do, fulfilling responsibilities. And many times that often deters a parent from really being able to sort of get to their level emotionally and stay emotionally attuned. So there are three kind of, I think, I would term it golden rules of parenting. And the first one I would say is to make sure no matter what you do, you correct behaviors, not feelings. So a lot of the times we don't want our child to feel mad or frustrated or overwhelmed, or we don't want them to feel hurt, right? And so we say, don't be disappointed. Don't act like that. Don't, you know what? Get over it, right? And so that is actually kind of a counterproductive knee-jerk reaction. So what you want to do always, and it's difficult because you kind of have to switch gears emotionally yourself, is honor the feeling but correct the behavior. So you're mad. I can tell. I don't know why, but I want to. But honey, you can't throw your backpack. You need to go pick it up. And as soon as that child their feelings are honored, they kind of go, oh, she gets it. And that was kind of nasty to throw my backpack, so I am going to go pick it up. And she is safe with my emotions, so I'm going to talk to her. And I'm going to tell her what happened on the bus. And then guess what you get to know? You get to know that some older kid took his lunch and threw it out the window because he was standing up for a younger kid, right? You wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know that if you said, we don't act like that. You need to go to your room and calm down. You would never know. And that's something you need to know, is what your kid did on the bus that was good. So it's very, very important to make a clear distinction between correcting feelings and correcting behaviors. You want to honor feelings and you want to correct behaviors. So I know this is a tough one because there are a lot of women in this room, but a lot of young girls have body issues, right? And so and we grew up with body issues. A lot of girls have body issues, and so they will say things that they don't like about themselves or how they look. And so even when you want to say, oh my God, you're the most beautiful kid in the world, like, how do you not see this? You can't. You have to honor what they feel. So saying something like, it really hurts not to like the way you look. And I get that. And honey, I felt that too. And then you reassure. What can I do? What do we need to do here? But that honoring of the feeling, even though you don't want to hear it, makes them feel not alone, connected to you, and completely less alone in their plight, and they don't feel so crazy. Because guess what? Their mom gets it. Their dad gets it. And if their mom and dad get it, then they're fine. Because we're their heroes. Even though they don't act like it, we are their heroes. Until they're 13, and then we're the most annoying people on the planet. But it's very, very important, if not the most important thing you can do as a parent. Because that child will learn that they can tell you stuff, and you're going to be safe with it. If you shame them for how they feel, and you send them away, no, I don't want to hear it, go to your room, then you know what? They're not going to tell you what happened on the bus. And that is what's going to save them in adolescence and the teen years, is having a parent they can talk to. The second thing is empathize but do not enable. So this is the most common mistake I've ever seen with parenting. I do it myself sometimes, and I really try not, because it's very destructive. So when you empathize, you just honor the feeling. You're disappointed. I will be too. You have every right. But you do not bend rules. You do not lower expectations. And you do not fix it for them. It's not okay. So when you give a child excuses for a mistake, or you basically let them feel like they're the victim in a situation, that instills a victim mentality inside of them, and that's very hard to undo. So those are kids that will blame everyone else except take responsibility for themselves. So no matter what you do, empathize with the feeling, honor the feeling, but uphold the expectation. You want to reinforce the rule. So your child comes to you on Monday morning, I have a tummy ache, Mom. Okay. Feel his forehead. No fever, babe. Have you thrown up? No, I haven't thrown up. Okay. Well, I just don't like Monday mornings, Mom. It's your long day at work, and I don't see you till 8 o'clock. Oh. Yeah, I feel it too. That's my Monday morning feeling too, honey. I feel it right here. I get it. It is a long day, and it's hard. and I don't see you till 8 o'clock, and I miss you. But we got to do this. School's important, work's important. And when that child hears that and understands that what they feel is okay, but then they're empowered to fight through it and move on, they have a sense of agency. They're empowered. They will fight through the anxiety. If you give in to the anxiety, you poor thing, I get it, you need a mental health day, stay home from school. Well, guess what? That's what they're going to do their whole life. Honor the feelings. If you honor the feelings, they will be resilient, and they will have a sense of agency over some mental health issues, and that's what you want, a resilient child. The third thing is, let them make you a better human. Listen. You know, when they say, Mom, you drive too fast. No, I drive too fast. From Chicago. Oh, okay, don't say that. So when you know, they're going to complain, they're going to, you know, you have to toe the line as a parent. That's very important. Keep them safe. Make sure they brush their teeth. Make sure they do their homework, right? Make sure they're respectful. Make sure they say please and thank you to everyone that even lifts a finger for them in life. But you definitely, absolutely want to listen to them when they tell you something about who you are. Yeah, Mom, when you get angry, you're a little scary. Well, I'm Irish. No, don't say it. Don't say it, right? Don't excuse it. Okay, that's something I have to hear about myself. When I get angry, you know, maybe it's a little too much. Let them make you a better person. And when you hear them and you reflect on it, and you don't have, don't give in when they say, oh, you're mean. Don't go, oh, you're right, here's the cookie. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying when they reflect something to you, and your first reaction is, no, I'm not. Don't say it. Don't do it. Think about it. Reflect. Go to Mass. Think about it. Pray. And maybe what they're saying is something you need to hear about who you are. When we let our kids make us better people and we change according to their feedback for the better, they actually will do the same as people. They see you take their feedback and go, shoot. Yeah, I'm sorry. Honey. Maybe I do that. I'm going to try and get better. They are people who are going to say the same thing to their partner, to their kid, to their wife, they're going to be people who look at themselves and say, yeah, I think I want to grow in this way, and I'm going to change. And that's called emotional intelligence. So those are the 3 things I highly recommend. And they're very hard to do, and it's almost like you have to sort of make yourself. Like, it's almost like you have to pause and say, oh, get there. Like, do it. Do the right thing as a parent. And it's very hard. But it will be so fruitful in your relationship with your child, because they will be people who want to be close with you. They will be people who want to get your feedback. They will be people who will integrate insight, introspection, empathy. And that's very important. So, 2 big things, social media and COVID. How have they impacted our children? Social media is a big deal, and it's both good and bad. I think the most difficult part, there are a number of difficult things about social media, but if we're talking about us, it's different, because we have fully formed identities. Yes, are we insecure sometimes? Yes, do we stress? Are we anxious? Yes. But we're adults. We basically know who we are, and that's a good thing. Kids, they want to be accepted. They want to be liked. They want to be valued. They want to feel worthwhile. They're vulnerable. They do not have fully consolidated identities like adults do. They haven't had enough time and enough experiences to know who they are. They don't know what their strengths are. They don't know what their weaknesses are. They really don't know. And you know what? Ignorance is bliss, right? the hard thing about social media is it is all about that. Who's important, who's worthwhile, who's valuable, and it's all based on very superficial things. That is very difficult for a young person's self-esteem. But yet, they need it to stay connected to friends, and they need it to correspond with friends, because that is basically the way that kids right now sort of stay connected to the people, their peers. And so it's a very difficult plight, I think, for parents and kids. And one of the most important things I think you can do as a parent is honor. Honor how small maybe they feel in the world. Honor their need to feel accepted and valued. Honor that need to feel important when they don't. And when they can come to you and say, well, I feel really bad because I didn't, I don't know about social media actually to talk about it enough, but it is very important to honor their feelings when they come to you about social media. Don't take it away because they'll never tell you what happened. You want to honor it. And you want to honor it and say it's very hard not to feel important. It's very hard to feel not included. It's very hard not to feel valued. And social media is very superficial, so it plays on a child's vulnerability in terms of seeing the world as everyone else has it. This person has a white Jeep. I have teenagers, so I hear this a lot. Everyone has a white Jeep, Mom. No, everyone does not have a white Jeep. And her life is not perfect. But they see these perfect things, and social media is very face value, and they think everyone's life is perfect and theirs is not. And so that's a very important thing to honor that feeling. You feel like everyone else's life is perfect, but honey, you know what? You probably don't know. And as a child therapist and an adolescent therapist and an adult therapist, I could tell you that a lot of the teenagers in this town that have beautiful things and look like perfect are some of the kids that are hurting the most. And so it's very important to teach your kids that it's a face thing. It's a face value, superficial lens. And if you take it away, life is a little more three-dimensional than that. But you definitely want to empathize with that, because I think everyone has felt that. Like, wow, she has the perfect life. So it's very important to help them balance that. I would say that, so I sort of collected some data from my clients about social media apps, and they mentioned a couple apps. So granted, social media can have very negative effects, but there are a couple mental health apps on social media that have really helped some of my clients. And so I thought I would share. One is called the Daily Bean. And so all of these apps are for 4-year-olds and up. So a lot of my clients are adolescents and teens. And so the Daily Bean, so this is emotional tracker. And basically, I think this is actually best for parents who are trying to gauge. So if a parent has a child on an antidepressant or something, for them to gauge if it's working or not. But it's kind of a cute app. And so they put beans in terms of their mood, and it can track, it's a calendar, and it's kind of cute. The other one that I thought was really adorable was called Finch. And so this incentivizes, did I say that right? Did I say that right? Okay. It basically rewards kids for doing mentally healthy things. So, like, there's one part that you can sort of talk about feelings on this, and it's all private, it's all confidential. And there's another prompt for calming exercises, and then there's another prompt for energizing exercises, and then there's one for gauges emotions and feelings. And so if you engage in some of these exercises, so say you do a little grounding exercise on this app, it will give you points towards something you can do for your pet's house. And so this is all online. So it's called Finch. So everyone gets a little Finch. You can name your Finch, and then the more points you get, you can decorate your Finch's house with really, really pretty things. So it's kind of cute. And kids seem to really like it. And then the other app that they seem to really like is Reflect. It's called Reflecting. So this is kind of for kids who are more, I think, a little bit more sophisticated and who like to journal. So the only drawback to this that the kids say is there's no incentives. And so they journal and it's great, but a lot of kids love that incentive of, okay, I did this and now I get points, now I get to decorate my little bird's house, which is adorable. So social media can be a detriment, but there are also ways that we can use it to help them, and that's super important. Okay. So there is a theme of difficult friends, and so it's hard to imagine that there are kids out there that would be passive-aggressive or unscrupulous behind the scenes, or they seem to always be well-behaved in front of adults and coaches, but behind closed doors they're sort of mean and unscrupulous on social media, and that's very, very difficult for kids. And I imagine that it's more for the adolescents and the teens, but it can be very hard. Social media is a way to hide any sort of passive-aggressive behavior, and it's effective for kids. So it's a very difficult thing. A kid like that is profoundly insecure and feels small, so needs to act big. And then it can be very difficult for a kid who is sort of sensitive and empathic, who's on the other end of that. So it's a hard dynamic. So that's a very difficult thing about social media as kids progress through adolescence and teens. How do you get your kids off of screens? So I don't find that personally, and I think professionally, I haven't really seen many parents who can effectively manage screen time by just saying get off or do this or do that, or and many can. But sometimes I think a better way to do it is to model getting off screen time. And how you model getting off screen time is by saying, yeah, we're all putting down our phones. We're going for a family walk. Yep, we're all doing it. So I'm not telling my child to get off the screen. I am getting off my screen. I'm telling him to get off his screen, and I'm telling the whole house to get off their screen, including Dad. And we're all going to go for a family walk. And that models accountability, responsibility, and basically if you are putting down your phone and your iPad and everything else, and you are saying let's go, they are going to be far more likely to do it. And guess what? You're not going to walk away until they get their coat on and they go. I will stand right here. I'm not going to intimidate you, but I'm not going to move until you get your coat on. Oh, come on, Mom. Yeah, you're going to get your coat on, and we're going to go for a walk. So cold weather stinks, but it's also very peaceful. You're not going to run into all your neighbors and chat for 25,000 minutes because you've run into 10 people. No one's out in the wintertime. Go for a walk. Just bundle up. And the kids love it, too. And it's kind of a nice time to just digest and talk. I'm a huge proponent of the family dinner. And my kids have staggered schedules, and it's crazy no matter what, unless someone is puking, we are eating dinner together at the table. I don't care. And it works. People come together, they know it's a rule, it is a routine, they're going to drag their feet. But when you're at the table together, it is absolutely lovely. So eat dinner together. 100%. Make it a rule. This is what we do as a family. We eat dinner every single night. I don't have my glasses on. If you have a hard time getting them off screens, I would say partner with them. Come on, buddy, we're putting it away. Let's go play basketball. Come on, buddy, come on, honey, we're putting it away. Let's go kick the soccer ball around. So it's one thing to demand that they put it away. It's another thing to demand that they put it away because they're spending time with you. If they have to put it away because they're spending time with you, that conveys that you love them, and that when they feel loved, and they may bark and they may complain and they may whine, but ultimately you're the ultimate screen time. And so why not, as a parent, exploit it? Okay. Last thing, signs of trouble. Okay, so this is hard because kids can get developmentally, as they progress through adolescence, they can get a little sassy. They need a little bit more private time. They're way more interested in their friends. These things are very normal, starting at 11 and 12 and 13 and progressing. So very normal, but it's very difficult sometimes to understand like what's private time and what's isolating. And what's a change and a passion because they're growing and evolving, and what's a withdrawal from an activity that they used to love. So it's very difficult sometimes to gauge this as a parent, and I know for me, I panic, like, oh, like, what does this mean? Oh my gosh, like, what's going on? And so it's very important to have the ability to see and look at and sort of have your eye on your child in terms of, is it a consistent change? So kids' appetites change all the time, especially when they're growing. So they're going to eat a whole pizza in one sitting, and then the next day they're like, yeah, I'll have a yogurt. What? So that stuff is kind of normal, but if you see a consistent change in appetite, so this kid is not really eating much the whole week, and if you see a consistent change in their ability to sleep, so kids will have trouble sleeping for a number of different reasons, but if you see this inability to fall asleep, inability to stay asleep for a week or two, and it's consistent across the board, if you see consistent changes in sort of biological behaviors, appetite, sleep, those are that is a reason for concern. If you see a withdrawal from once loved activities, and this is not just because they're burnt out of soccer and they want to try volleyball. This is an absolute withdrawal from stuff that they love and not a re-engagement in other things. So this is a kind of a blanket withdrawal. And what's painful for parents, I think, is especially with things that they know their kid loves. And if this blanket withdrawal happens for a week or two, it's definitely cause for concern. If their child isolates, and so this is, okay, yeah, kids sometimes need a break from their parents and they love their friends, and being with friends is healthy and great, but if they would not only don't want to talk to you, but now they're not really talking to their friends. So you see this overall isolating behavior, and they don't want to talk to anyone. That is definitely a reason for concern. So some of the statements that parents should be alarmed when they hear are things like, well, everyone would be better off without me, or I just make everyone's life worse, or if it weren't for me, this family would be happy. Those sorts of statements, those sorts of generalized statements are a sign of trouble. So a parent wants to sit down with their child and say, hey, buddy, what's wrong? Take a drive. Kids open up better when they're in the car. It's somewhat distracting, and so it's private. And you want to say to your child, I can tell something's wrong. I can tell you're hurting. And this is private. This is safe. Whatever you tell me, I'm not going to judge. Honey, I want to know. I want to help you. So if you let a child know that whatever they tell you is going to be honored, the feeling, and that they're not going to be judged, they will be more likely to open up. And it's very, very important that they talk to you, because that is what's going to protect them as they grow into adolescence and in the teen years. So a lot of parents worry about making changes, making life changes, doing things, and the one rule that I live by professionally and personally is it's not really what happens to our children, it's how we help them through it. So trying to protect them from disappointment, trying to shield them from hurt, trying to protect them from pain, when you can, fine. But when you can't, if you just walk with them through it, they're going to learn how to get through it. And those feelings are inevitable, right? That is what life is about, is disappointment sometimes and hurt. And so if you empathize and let them know that you're a safe place to land when hard things happen, then they are going to use you as comfort and support. And you're the best coping mechanism they have. And so really exploiting that is very important. I think that's it.